it looks like we've got more impeachment stuff to talk about here, okay? We're talking about Mr. Jimmy Dore once again, because Jimmy Dore is somebody who is very passionate in his stance of being anti-impeachment to the point where it's almost a religious position at this point. I feel like a lot of Jimmy Dore's positions end up being akin to religious beliefs where it's like, you're just stuck on that, you're steered to it, you're stuck on it, and you're just super passionate about it, okay? That kind of a thing. And so he's very anti-impeachment because he says that, it boosts Trump, which, I don't know what numbers he's referencing there, if he's referencing numbers of impeachment going down, like approval for impeachment going down, or if he's talking about his favorability, because when I looked at his favorability ratings, they look roughly the same, so I'm not really sure what he's talking about. And then there's also a lot of variables that will play out, and bore out, and we will figure out whether or not it helps him. So, he actually lodged an attack at Shahid Buttar. Now, I'm sure you've heard of Shahid. He is running against Nancy Pelosi, okay? He's running against Nancy. So, he's going to give his thoughts on this. I'm going to let it play.
So this guy is running against Nancy Pelosi. So you'd think he would have a different agenda than Nancy Pelosi. He does not. We've been challenging Speaker Pelosi's deference to Trump both before she finally chose to show up for impeachment and after she imposed a limited process that excluded his worst crimes against the republic. So they were opposing her when she didn't want to impeach him. So he wants impeachment. That's what I'm reading here, right?
He does. But one thing I will say for Shahid is that when he breaks down all of her failures, he does make some excellent points because he will bring up the fact that she and the Democratic establishment did not touch any of the financial stuff that Trump is doing. Why didn't they touch that stuff? Because they're complicit in it.
That's right.
So
but he still wants an impeachment, though, even though it boosts Trump.
He does. Yeah. I mean,
so he's a Trump booster. He's a Trump booster. I'm sorry, I can't vote for people who are fucking Trump boosters. I can't push people who are this fucking stupid politically. I can't do it. What does he think this helps? Why would you fucking be for someone who's going to wittingly so he knows right now, just like I know, that this help. Well, we're going to get going. Here's what Crystal Ball says about Tulsi's vote and about him.
Tulsi Gabbard once again. Always got to throw in that Tulsi mention in there. But anyways, so his incredibly simplistic view of someone being a Trump booster if they're for impeachment is hilariously simplistic and hilariously dense, okay? Also, when he says there that his agenda is the same as Nancy Pelosi, that's also an incredibly, a very reductive thought process and a very reductive conclusion to come to, because obviously Shahid Buttar is a real progressive. He's somebody who supports Medicare for all. Just that alone is massive, right? His agenda is not the same as Nancy Pelosi. He may agree on impeachment of Donald Trump, which, is a pretty straightforward thing to do, to support impeachment of someone who's, done as many things as he has, right? A garden variety of so many different things. But I am glad that Ron Placone was there to, kind of tell him, and this is what I'm really sort of weirded out about, is if you're not for, impeachment of him on, my opinion, the biggest two are violation of the emoluments clause. I think that's huge because we need to set a precedent for future presidents. And in fact, if we don't impeach him on the emoluments, I feel like it sets a negative precedent, right? So you have the emoluments clause violation is one. The other one being, the things that he's done in terms of Yemen and the various things that he's done with financial crimes that he's committed as well, and so sort of all of those kinds of things combined, right? And so what he's trying to say is, I support impeachment. We want to impeach him on all these serious things. If you don't want to impeach him on things like emoluments clause, what he's done in terms of Saudi Arabia and Yemen and supporting what's going on over there, and all of the things that he's done, I really question your sort of progressive stance, right? Because even the most staunch anti-impeachment folks, right, like Kyle Kulinski, for example, even he has said that he would support it on principle. So if you're not going to support it even under that, I seriously question either your thought process or your authenticity. Because I don't understand how you're going to be you're the real progressive, the Tulsi Gabbardite, right? but you're not for impeachment on the actual serious stuff that he's done. Which, to be fair, I think the stuff that he's done with the Mueller investigation, in terms of basically attempting to stifle an investigation into himself, I think that's like one of the worst things that you can do, right? I think that's literally one of the worst things that you can do. I think those are serious as well, but the other ones are even more serious. So that's why I don't really understand what's going on with this guy's brain. But his brain has become so much, CSF. There's just so much cerebrospinal fluid that he has just brought everything down to impeachment. It doesn't matter if Shahid is for Medicare for all and has the, positions of a real progressive, like a JD-esque progressive. It doesn't matter. Nancy Pelosi and he have the same agenda. He's a Trump booster like Nancy Pelosi. Get out of here with that bullshit, dude. It's hilarious. And Tim Black, okay, is somebody who was good friends with Jimmy Dore. I don't know how good of friends they are now, but he just responded to this saying, what's a F? He also sent out a tweet saying, "Hey, Jimmy Dore, fair is fair. At least bring Shahid for change on your show to discuss his thought process. Shahid is a good man. In all fairness, you should hear him out if you're going to criticize him. Pelosi is not a friend to progressives." And then Jimmy Dore responds saying, "Will do. He was not the focus of that segment by any stretch. For clarity, my stance is that impeachment props up Trump and establishment Democrats. There are myriad reasons for this, which I explain in the video. So if he's for impeachment, then he's for a policy that helps Trump." Again, super reductive logic, barely any thought going on there. Basically, if you're for impeachment, regardless of the grounds of impeachment that you're for, or the reasons why you support it, as well as there really is lacking any evidence that makes someone a Trump booster. Because again, there are so many variables that can play out, right? What could happen is the Democrats look weak for either not delivering it to the Senate, or they deliver it to the Senate, he's acquitted, and then they, claim victory. Or it could be the opposite, right? The Democrats successfully campaign, saying that, the trial is clearly not fair, the jury is not fair, and, they're basically hiding his crimes and all this stuff. It really depends on the way that it folds. So you really don't even know, and the favorability of Donald Trump as of right now has remained, generally speaking, unchanged. Now, it does look like the impeachment numbers have gone down like 4 points or something like that, but I don't really understand how that makes him a Trump booster. I don't really know how that makes sense. And then, again, to repeat, you're basically just, you're just putting to side everything else that Shahid believes in, and you're just so much of a dunce. And again, not helping the progressive movement, man. Not helping the progressive movement. Shahid himself actually responded as well. And in addition to this, Tim Black had sent out a bunch of tweets critiquing Jimmy Dore for, his take on this stuff. And he actually made a video where he went after Jimmy Dore for his constant, it seems like Jimmy goes after Bernie at literally every chance that he gets. Any single chance that Jimmy Dore gets to go after Bernie Sanders, he jumps on it, okay? That's what he does. And so Tim Black was going after him for that, as well as other things as well, this being one of them. And so I'm definitely surprised that Tim Black would do this, because again, Tim Black and Jimmy are buddies, or at least they were buddies. So definitely some good stuff coming from Tim Black. I also saw this randomly posted. This totally has no connection with any of this, by the way. All this happened it just happened the following day. Mike from the Humanist Report says, "Just donated to Shahid for change. You should too." And this is literally the day after that all this stuff, unfolded. So, or in some cases even the same day. So, yeah, totally just a coincidence that he randomly put this out on the day after that argument went down. It's also a total coincidence that Jimmy Dore is no longer in the recommended channels page of the Humanist Report. All of that is totally a coincidence. There's clearly no ties between those things, and it's just, happened by chance for all of these things to happen. So, I guess Jimmy Dore has taken such a turn for the worse that it really seems like the only person who's really still buddies with him is Kyle Kulinski. I really don't see Mike from the Humanist Report or Tim Black. They all seem to be kind of going after him at this point. I think Kyle's really the only one who hasn't. And Cenk, I think, hasn't either, but, he's gone after Tulsi Gabbard and done some, subliminals and all that kind of stuff. So, I think in general, Jimmy's obsessed with this impeachment stuff. He's no help to the progressive movement. He's a pretty big time waster. A lot of his thoughts are sort of very simplistic and very reductive. And, I will leave, hopefully I'll remember, I will leave Shahid's website and donation link. So make sure to support his candidacy because he's running against Nancy Pelosi. So make sure to go donate to him. Okay, link will be down below in the description box if I remember.